Hey, what's up guys? I wanted to make this video tonight because it was 8 years ago an accident happened to me that changed my life forever. I've been wanting to make this video for a while so people can know a little bit more about me, but most of all in hopes that maybe my story would inspire or help encourage somebody who had gone through the same thing. Starting back 8 years ago, I was strong, I was in shape, I was healthy, I was a full-fledged vegetarian, I was a martial artist training 3 nights a week, I was my instructor's lead instructor at the school. I am a black belt in 3 styles of martial arts: Jiu-Jitsu, Kodokan Judo, and Kashi Kempo Karate, which is a Hawaiian variation of Kempo. At that time I was very active in fitness and careful about what I was eating. Overall, I had a very normal, healthy life then. So it was like 8 years and a week ago today that I had started this job in carpentry. And it was a place that built staircases, railings, and stuff like that for the interior of homes. And on this one particular day, they were looking for volunteers to go work in the spiral staircase section of the place. And nobody wanted to go, so I had volunteered. So I went over there, and what you had to do was they had these like 12 to 14 feet, I'm not sure exactly, but tall 4x4 studs with metal plates on them that was screwed into the ceiling and into the floor. What you had to do was unscrew them from the ceiling, then come down, unscrew them from the floor, take them down, lock them together with another one, and put them against this wall. Well, I was doing that, and I vaguely remember before this happened that there was some like bevel in the floor. I do remember that because I thought that was weird, and I was trying to be careful to make sure that the wood was pushed up against the wall. After that, I honestly don't know what happened. This is gonna forever be a mystery the rest of my life. I had turned around to grab the cordless drill to continue. I had like maybe like 5 left to do or whatever, to start taking the other ones down. And all of a sudden, all I remember is blacking out and hearing like a train go by. Like, it just sounded like a train. It was like shh. It was just so loud. And then I remember nothing after that. And the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes was just blood coming down my face and people running at me. What had happened was 2 of those 4x4 studs had come down and hit me right here on the head. It split my head open right here. I have a 6-inch scar coming down, and one of them caught me in the back of the head too, because I have a scar in the back, and it had knocked me out. Well, when I got knocked out, I fell down to the floor. I smashed my knees on the floor, and I fell forward. Well, thank God I fell forward, because the whole wall of them, they figured about 600 pounds of lumber and metal came crashing down on top of me. So basically, I got compacted this way when the 2 came down and smashed me in the head. And then when I fell forward, the whole wall had pretty much crushed the rest of my body completely. That is what I heard while I was out. That sounded like a train. It was all of those falling on top of me. Now, I don't know how long I was out or anything, but what they told me was, I guess, apparently, I lifted the pile of lumber and metal off of me, and I stood up, and that's when I remember coming to, is when I stood up, and I opened my eyes. That is when I remember coming to, is I was already standing, and I had my eyes open, and just blood started pouring down my face, and I don't remember too much because it was really crazy. There were these guys grabbed me, brought me in the office, I think, and I just wanted to throw up. I was just so sick and so nauseous. My head was just gushing. I got rushed to the hospital, and they put, I believe, 21 staples in my head to staple it up. They did an x-ray of my head and CAT scan and stuff. So they basically just stapled me up, and they actually told my wife I could go back to work the next day, which was crazy. She was like, "What? Are you serious? He just got crushed, his head split open and everything else, and you're telling him he can go back to work the next day?" So anyways, I left the hospital, and that is when life really changed for me and things became really, really hard. I had basically suffered a closed head injury. My spine had suffered trauma from being crushed one way and then another way. My whole body was in pain like I couldn't even describe. It just basically literally felt like I had been run over by a steamroller and left for dead. I was laid up for 1 month. I couldn't get out of bed for a month. That's how much pain I was in. And I was taking painkillers. That was a very difficult time, which only got worse because what had happened was I had suffered a closed head trauma and my brain was swollen. And they didn't find out my brain was swollen because of all the dilly-dallying with comp and all that. They didn't find out my brain was still swollen until 4 months later. Which I was kind of upset about because I was like, if they had found that sooner, it probably wouldn't suffer the damage it already has. So basically, physically, I was a wreck, and mentally, I was a wreck. I don't want to go into too long details because I could go on forever about this, but basically, I had what was called post-amnesic disorder, and I still have it because if I don't take my medicine, I do relapse. Basically, it's amnesia, but you don't forget like who your family is and stuff. Like I knew who my kids were, I knew who my wife was, I knew who my family was, and I had good memories of what had happened prior to the accident. Like I remembered when I was a kid. I didn't lose any of that memory, but my short-term memory is affected by it, and it still is today. And there's times where I have a hard time making like new memories and remembering things. So just to give you like an example, there was so many times we had to literally put Post-its around the house because there was so many times I'd almost burned down the house, or I flooded my grandfather's apartment downstairs because I flooded my apartment, leaving the sink on or the tub on. Or, I'd just go in rooms, turn on lights, never shut them off. I'd go into a room, I'd be in a room and not even know how I got there or why I was there. I'd just be standing there like blank, like, why am I here? How did I get in this room? I'd be like in my bedroom and poof, all of a sudden I'm in the living room and I'm like, how did I get here? We'd go out for rides and my wife would be riding down the road talking to me, and all of a sudden it was like I'd drift off into this space where all of a sudden it was like I got knocked out or something, and where all of a sudden like a half hour up the road and I'm like, whoa, how'd we get here, because I didn't remember any of the ride. So life became very difficult for me and my family because my wife was so used to me being so strong, being so normal, that she had a hard time with this too, to see me this way. And it's taken a long time for us to adjust and deal with the issues I have. My motor skills were affected greatly. There was this one time we were out and I had like a cup of chili or chowder, I can't remember, in my hand. And all of a sudden my hand just automatically by itself, my right hand just went like that and just dumped it all over the place. I'd be walking and all of a sudden my right leg would just give out and I'd go flying, I'd fall. I'd be tripping all the time. Just this hand wouldn't work right. I literally had to retrain myself how to play guitar because my hands wouldn't communicate with my brain. So it was like when I first started playing guitar again, after a couple years, I really had to retrain my brain, my hand, to coincide with my brain because they wouldn't work together. I couldn't play chords right and stuff. It was really challenging. And there was so many things like that. After some time, I started noticing I started getting tremors. I started shaking all the time. And I didn't know what was wrong with me. It was making me nervous. And pretty much the comp doctors were doing nothing with me. I mean, that's how it goes. But I'm not going to bash anybody. But, that's how it goes. And they're telling me nothing's wrong with me. And I'm like, oh, yes, there is. I'm not imagining this stuff, but there were times where they had me convinced that I was, Um, but after doing my own research, and I love the internet because of this, because I did my own research and everything else, I found that, yeah, it was normal what I was going through. I had my head bashed, I had a closed head trauma, and it caused my brain to swell, which caused damage to my brain. So it was quite normal what I was experiencing. I'd see like hallucinations. I'd see people walk by me, and more like silhouettes, but you know what I mean. I'd see like people walk by me, and I'd look, and there was nothing there, and I'd hear voices. It was. Your brain is a very special, amazing, fascinating, just unbelievable organ in our body that controls our whole body. And when it gets damaged, it really affects your entire body. And that's what I was going through. And I still do. It's just I'm on medicine now that helps curb it, that helps relieve a lot of the symptoms. So basically, I had gotten to a point where I said, all right, enough's enough. I need to go see some real doctors. And in the beginning, I did see the government neuropsychiatrist. He had tested me, and after testing me, and he was the one who diagnosed me with post-amnesic disorder with post-traumatic disorder from, the traumatic experience. And the amnesia from being hit in the head and from suffering brain damage. But we had come to a point, this was later after that, dealing with some comp doctors and stuff. And all that's behind me now. I'm done with the comp, and I'm so happy, that that's over with. After some time of dealing with them telling me nothing's wrong with me, you're fine, you're just imagining these things. I mean, it was what it was. My wife and I finally said, enough's enough. We need to go find a neurologist on our own. We need to go find you a chiropractor on your own. We need to go separate you and find doctors that are going to help you instead of hurt you. And that's what we did, because I was so tired of going to doctors and them telling me, you're not in pain, you just want the drugs or whatever. And I'm like, I don't even want the drugs, I want you to help me. I was just so desperate for help, because I had never experienced anything like this, and it was horrible. It was like the pain I was in on top of the mental problems from my brain being damaged, and just people telling me there's nothing wrong with me when I knew darn well there was stuff wrong with me. I mean, you do not get crushed by 600 pounds of lumber and metal, have your scalp cut open, and your brain bashed with and your skull bashed with a metal plate, and nothing's wrong with you. So I wasn't stupid. I have amnesia. I'm not stupid,